Hi there. I hope your day is going so great. Hope it's beautiful. And I want to welcome you to another episode of the Food Adventures podcast. And today I want to talk about alchemy. I was sleeping, and in one of my tosses and turns, when I woke up, the word alchemy was just in my head. And I was like, there's a few reasons why this could be, but I want to get into what alchemy is and why I love alchemy and how I use it. So, what is alchemy? Alchemy is the art of transformation. It is the creation process. It is a transference of energy from one place to another. And this is happening all the time, right? It's happening all the time. And we can use this to our advantage to progress and become higher and truer, because we are already our highest and truest selves. We just get higher and truer. And why I decided that I wanted to be more intentional with this is because someone who I look up to was an alchemist. That person is Jesus. Jesus was an alchemist, okay? He was able to feed thousands of people with 5 to 7 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He turned water into wine. That man was a powerful, powerful human being. And so I strive to be more like God every day. So I learned from the way that Jesus was, and I emulated in my own way in my life. How I do this in my life is through food and inner work or self-development, personal development, whatever title resonates with you. So with food, if you've seen any of my cooking show episodes, I will literally talk to my food. I'll put intentions into my food so that as it goes through my body and as my body breaks it down, that energy is able to transform from the food energy into whatever my intention was for it, whatever I wanted it to do for me. So, for example, I made a cherry jam and I wanted it to help balance me out. I used my energy and the food's energy and spoke to it and used my brain power, my genius, and I used God and my faith to create balance in my life through my cherry jam. Every time I ate that jam, I was like, yeah, you know what? When I made this jam, I decided that I wanted it to help me be more balanced. And boom. So that's how I use food to alchemize. That's how I am a food alchemist. And how I use inner work to alchemize, there's so many ways to do this. You could do it through journaling, through visualization, and I'm gonna give a step by step on an example of how I use inner work to alchemize recently. So step 1, you're going to want to so step 1, you're going to want to find and feel the energy and matter that you would like to transform. Know what it is that you want to transform. That's the first step. Gather it. For me, I noticed that when I was doing certain things, when I wasn't being distracted, there would be repeated thoughts in my head of certain people and scenarios and just these repeated thoughts, like, and they weren't positive, they were negative. So I would be, and I feel like this is a common thing. Like, we all create scenarios in our heads, like, oh, what if this person did this and I would react this way. And to me, I was like, I don't like this feeling that these thoughts are bringing me. Why am I even thinking about this? It's not serving me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this serve me. So what I did was I I pulled out my journal. I was like, let me write these down. I wrote down, it was like 3 thoughts. So I wrote down the people, what the thoughts were. And then that's the first step, right? So get it out. Get it out. What is it? What is it that you would like to change? What is it that you would like to alchemize? Find that source of energy, because all energy is going to be used to your advantage when you're an alchemist. It's all good because you can turn it into something better, into something else, something new. And so the second step that you want to do is transfer that energy, right? It's the transference of the energy. So you want to use your creative power, your genius, and you want to create with God. You want to use your heart and change this thing into something else. So for me, right, after I wrote down what these 3 thoughts were, got them out, I was like looking at them, I'm like, interesting. So I wrote down then what all the thoughts had in common, right? They're very low vibrational. There's conflict, just different things that they had in common. I wrote down the feelings that they brought up for me. And the feelings that they were bringing up for me were scarcity, guilt, and insecurity. And I was thinking, this is probably just my brain trying to protect me from feeling these feelings by creating scenarios in which I am dominant or I am aggressive or assertive. And I'm like, brain, like, we can do way better than this. We can figure this out and have it be something beautiful. Have it be love instead of whatever it was. All right. So after I wrote down what they had in common and the feelings that I felt, I decided to flip them. I flipped them. So scarcity turned into abundance. Guilt turned into righteousness. And insecurity turned into confidence. And along with these new 3 high vibrational ideals or ideas or whatever words, I wrote down how God is in that. How does God go here, right? So with confidence, right, I wrote that it's essentially, I gave a reason justifying my confidence by using what I know about God. And I know that God made me beautifully. God made me in his image or her image. I like to say her when I think about that because obviously, I'm a woman. And so I'm made in the image of God, which means that this is God's body and it's perfect wherever it is. Right now, it is perfect. 10 years from now, it'll be perfect. Last night, it was perfect. And I can still get better. And as I get better, The perfection doesn't increase or decrease, it just remains. And so God made me. So I'm made in the image of God. Boom. Confidence right there. And so, did I get mixed up? Either way, now we know what is attached to confidence. Then, for abundance, I wrote that, and you don't have to write these things, you can say it out loud, but for me, these things were deep, so I had to get it down on paper and actually see it happening for myself. So for abundance, I wrote that God always keeps his promises. Always. And I also wrote, what else did I write? Abundance. I forget. But it was something else with it. But God always keeps his promises, and God is ever expanding. God is always growing. There's no need for me to feel anything other than abundance. And then for righteousness, I wrote that all my sins are forgiven. Everything I've done is forgiven. Everything I will do is forgiven. Not that I can do no wrong, but in a way, the wrong that I've done is done and is forgiven. So I don't need to feel guilt. I just gotta keeping on. And so that was what the alchemization process looked like for me there, with those repeating negative thoughts in my head. So now, whenever something like that, a feeling that is negative, comes into my body, I immediately think about what it is that I wrote down. And also with this step, you want to bring in your creative genius. You want to make it mean something for you, make it meaningful for you. So these 3 words, right? This is how I made it meaningful for me. Abundance, righteousness, and confidence. I love an acronym, so I use the word ARC. ARC. Abundance, righteousness, confidence. So if I need a reminder, I will literally say ARC. ARC. If, in the moment I'm feeling one of these, the opposite of the spectrum, bad feelings, I'll say ARC. And it's a reminder of the truth. And yeah, you could take it any direction you want to. Add in your flair, add in whatever bit that you want. And then the last step is essentially just being in this process of letting it happen. Let it happen naturally, and have faith that it actually is happening. Faith is really the most important thing. If you don't have faith that it's going to happen, it's actually not going to happen. So just knowing that it will happen through time and space. As time and space goes on, whatever it is that you transformed will transform. It is transforming. So while you're in that transformation process, just keep doing what it is that you were doing, and continue to alchemize. Just continue to say ARC whenever you need it, and then it becomes embodied, becomes something that is natural for you. So for our little food adventure, I have an example, an analogy of how baking is actually a process of alchemy. For example, you want to bake a cake. Step one is to find the energy and matter that you wish to transform. You go to the grocery store and you get your flour, your eggs, your milk, your butter, your frosting. If this were me, it'd be plant-based and I'd be doing a lot of like frosting and stuff from scratch, but we'll leave that to the side. So all right, so you go to the store, you get all your delicious ingredients, put them in the shopping cart, walk to the cashier, give them a smile, ask them how they're doing. They ring it up, they put it in your bag. You take the bag home and you get started on your cake. Step two, you get home, you pull out your bowls, your whisk, your measuring cups, your measuring spoons, all that you need. This is the transformation process happening, right? You take your eggs, crack them into the bowl. You take your flour, measure it out, your sugar, your butter, whatever else is in your cake, and your baking powder, your baking soda, and you mix them all together. You mix them together. They start to blend together. You see it looking so delicious. You add in your vanilla extract, your cinnamon. Now it's fragrant and it's smelling so good. You're like, I know this cake is going to be good. You add in your little special ingredient, your nutmeg. And it's like, ooh, this just took it over the top. I'm excited. Then, step 3, you put it in the oven and it's transforming. You let it transform, you let it happen, you just let it alchemize, let it become the cake, right? And during this process, you might start to prep for when it's here for you, when it's already transformed. And that's also another important point when you're trying to alchemize and materialize or even manifest. You act like it's already happened, right? So what this looks like when baking a cake, you start to prepare your frosting and you start to slice up your strawberries to put on top of the frosting. Then when your cake is done, you slide on your frosting and your strawberries. Now you have a lovely, beautiful cake and you eat it. So once the alchemization has processed, the art has been created, you want to enjoy it. You want to bask in it, feel it, embody it. And that's how alchemy works. You just transform, let it transform, be transformed, and it's good. Everything's all good. You got your cake. It was delicious. It's yummy. And whatever you created is yummy. So that's what I have to say about alchemy today. And I hope that everything is going okay for you. And don't worry, your blessings are on the way. So, I love you. God loves you. And I hope that you have a beautiful and wonderful day.